Daniel kicked open the door with his first love by his side and grabbed the bouquet from my hands, throwing it to the floor. He pointed at my custom made wedding dress, the one I had waited a year for, and sneered, I won the bet. She actually thought I was going to marry her. She spent 2 years planning this wedding. That's hilarious. Everyone knew it was just a bet, everyone but me. He called me a pathetic doormat who shamelessly thought she could sit at their table. He yanked off my veil and proposed to his first love right there. Later, a wedding invitation arrived at my house with his handwriting on the envelope. Come be my bridesmaid. That way you can fulfill your wish of watching me get married. He had made another bet with his friends, confidently saying I would show up as his bridesmaid. But then one of them told him, You didn't hear? Sarah is getting married today too. The bouquet I had chosen myself lay crushed under Daniel's shoe, my veil falling onto the scattered petals. Daniel and his friends left the wedding venue with mocking laughter, the framed wedding photo at the entrance knocked over by his foot. I had spent 2 years planning this wedding, only to realize I was nothing more than a pawn in a game between him and his first love. He won the bet, and she agreed to marry him. Now he had won. I, the foolish, self-deceiving doormat, had seriously and wholeheartedly prepared for this wedding. I really thought that after 8 years of being together in secret, we were finally going to go public, that he and I would have a happy ending. But in the end, it was all just a bet. He used my dignity to win over his first love. At that moment, the wedding I had poured my heart into was a joke. The wedding dress I had waited a year for was a joke. But the biggest joke of all was me. As I left the venue, I saw something unusual. Daniel, who never updated his Instagram, had just posted a new photo album. It was a series of pictures of him and Chloe, his first love. His friends flooded the comments with congrats, congrats. And so the doormat really did go through with the wedding. That's hilarious. Wish I'd been there to see it. Now that they had made it official, they wondered if I would still chase after him. Of course I would, they joked. That fool spent 2 years planning a wedding for Daniel, and in the end, it was all a joke. One after another, they mocked me. 8 years together, and in his version of the story, I had been groveling at his feet the entire time. He never once acknowledged me to his friends. Meanwhile, my own Instagram still had our wedding invitations pinned at the top. I deleted them all, one by one. Just as I finished, the taxi arrived at the house where Daniel and I had lived for 8 years. The moment I stepped out of the car, I saw that all my belongings had been thrown out onto the driveway, even the little dog we had raised together. Through the window, I saw Daniel and Chloe kissing, their silhouettes pressed together, shifting slightly behind the fluttering curtains. For a brief moment, Daniel's gaze locked onto mine. He smirked, then scooped Chloe into his arms and sat her down on the wooden coffee table, the one I had made by hand. With a casual tug, he let the curtains fall, shutting me out. Everything that followed felt like a blade slicing through my last shred of self-respect. Just as I finished gathering my things, ready to leave, a message popped up on my phone from Daniel. We're out. Bring me another box. Strawberry flavor. Chloe likes it. A second later, a payment notification appeared. $100, followed by another text from Daniel. Hurry up. Don't waste my time. I gripped my suitcase and knocked on the door. Daniel, wearing nothing but a towel, rushed over to open it. Where is it? His brows furrowed in irritation as he looked at me. Then, as if something suddenly occurred to him, he scoffed, What, jealous? I let out a cold laugh. Then, with all the strength I had, I slapped him across the face. Before he could react, I threw the last of the old mint-flavored condoms straight at him. They don't have strawberry in your size, just use this. I slammed the door shut before he could say another word. This house, every inch of it, I had decorated with my own hands. The flowers by the entrance, I had planted them myself. I once thought that after 8 years, he must have loved me even just a little. But now, I realized it was all one-sided. I ripped down the house nameplate and tossed it into the trash. Then, without looking back, I got in the car and returned to my own home. As I stood in front of the door, I braced myself for my parents' sarcastic remarks. But when I opened it, the smell of home-cooked food greeted me instead. My dad, wearing an apron, was carrying dishes to the dining table. Seated at the table were my mom's best friend, Eleanor, and her son, William. They glanced at me standing there with my suitcase looking like a mess. They didn't seem surprised at all. William got up and took my suitcase inside while his mother waved me over. "Come eat, Sarah." She even made sure I sat right next to William. "Sarah, you've gotten prettier. It's been what, 2 or 3 years since we last saw you? Do you still remember me?" Yes, I nodded. Back when Eleanor was fighting a brutal divorce battle over assets, my dad was the one who handled her case. She and William had stayed with us for quite a while. During that time, William had tutored me for 2 whole years, so the moment I saw him, the words came out instinctively. "Teacher William." William's face darkened. "I'm only a year older than you. Just call me William." But I had been calling him that for so long. It was a habit now. Eleanor held my hand and kept asking about my life. I lowered my head and mumbled vague responses. After all, my 8-year secret relationship with Daniel, even my parents never knew about it. I had planned the whole wedding behind their backs. And now, I didn't even know how to explain my situation. "I'm fine. Everything's fine." Eleanor chuckled. "I meant, do you have a boyfriend?" I answered without hesitation, "No." For a split second, my parents exchanged a glance with Eleanor. Then all three of them smiled. In a way that felt a little too synchronized, Eleanor and William stayed with us for a few days. She frequently went to the hospital and her condition visibly worsened. Until one night, William finally couldn't hold back anymore. His voice was low when he spoke. "Sarah, will you marry me?" I was stunned. He lowered his gaze, his hands clenched into fists. "My mom doesn't have much time left. She really likes you, and she wants to see me get married before she goes. But she doesn't want to force you. We can just have a wedding, put on a show for her. When she's gone, I'll explain everything." His eyes were red, his voice choking up as he spoke. My parents also joined in, persuading me. "Okay," I agreed while eating, without much hesitation. After everything that happened with Daniel, my perspective on weddings and marriage had completely changed. Eleanor was my mom's only close friend, and helping her fulfill her wish to see William get married seemed far more meaningful than being part of Daniel's ridiculous bet. I had no reason to refuse. As soon as I agreed, William and I began the intense preparations for the wedding. Maybe I was just too busy, but I had completely ignored everything about Daniel. I never blocked him on any platform. Yet, unlike before, I no longer secretly checked his updates over and over. It was as if I had gradually erased him from my life. That day, William and I were picking out wedding outfits. Just as I stepped out of the fitting room after trying on a dress, I saw Daniel. Standing beside him was Chloe, who stared at my dress and said, "Seriously, I saw this dress first. Take it off. I don't like other people wearing my clothes. I can't believe you're this shameless, following me all the way here. Hurry up and take it off. No one's even marrying you. So why are you trying on wedding dresses?" Chloe reached out to yank the dress off me. Without even thinking, I slapped her. "You're desperate to fight over a man who's already been used, but you suddenly have a cleanliness obsession over a dress? I really can't tell if you care about being clean or if you're just pretending. Besides, this dress was custom made for me." Wow, you really lie without hesitation. Aren't you embarrassed? And before you fight me for it, maybe take a look at your flat figure first and see if you can even pull it off. I shoved Daniel's hand away. He was furious and grabbed my wrist, demanding that I apologize to Chloe. Apologize to her, or deal with the consequences. Hearing that, I almost laughed. Consequences? What consequences could there be between us now? I looked at him with interest and asked, "Oh, what consequences?" He seemed confident, like whatever he was about to say would be something I couldn't handle. He pulled out his phone and pointed it at me. "I'll block you on every platform. You'll never be able to see anything about me or contact me again." Oh, what a terrifying consequence. To the old me, the one who once waited desperately for his love, this might have been devastating. But now, I understood that to Daniel, I was nothing more than a plaything. He had never truly seen me as a person. So why should I be afraid? I took out my phone and, right in front of him, blocked him on every platform where we were connected. His expression grew darker and darker. By the time I blocked the last account, he was practically shouting, "Sarah, an apology isn't happening. You've seen the consequences. Now move!" I shoved him aside and walked out just as William arrived. "I got you some dessert," he said, carrying a box of cake, about to walk inside. I grabbed him and pulled him away. "There's bad energy in there. No need to go in." William didn't ask any questions. He just followed me home. By the time we got back, my parents and Eleanor had already gone to bed. I sat in the living room, opened the cake William had bought, and took a bite. After that day, people around me kept bringing up Daniel. Out of nowhere, they would tell me he took wedding photos, that he had already booked a honeymoon destination. "You're not reacting to any of this, Lisa." A mutual friend of mine and Daniel had always been close to me. She made a special trip today just to tell me all of this. I looked at her and said, "What kind of reaction do you want? Should I cry and beg him not to go? But that place, it's where you always dreamed of going with him. And now he's taking someone else. His decisions have nothing to do with me." I handed her a wedding invitation and gave her a few extras. "Hand them out to whoever you want. Doesn't matter if they come or not." "You're getting married?" I nodded. Lisa was so shocked that even when she left, she still hadn't processed the fact that I was getting married. That night, I received a message from an unknown number. "Be my bridesmaid. I'll give you the chance to witness my wedding up close." It was Daniel. I didn't reply. I focused entirely on preparing for my own wedding, going over every detail with William again and again. Eventually, I fell asleep in his arms, only waking up the next morning. On the wedding day, for the first time, I truly felt like I was the main character. Eleanor and my parents woke up early to help me get ready, and William had even hired the best makeup artist for me. Some relatives even assumed that William and I had been dating all these years and that we were a perfect match. My parents were overjoyed. Meanwhile, Daniel had started another bet. As the bridesmaids anxiously asked why there were 3 groomsmen but only 2 bridesmaids, he smirked. "There's one more on the way." Lisa, one of the bridesmaids, casually asked, "Who?" "Sarah." He spoke with absolute confidence. "I made a bet that Sarah would come be my bridesmaid. No matter how unwilling she is, she'll come running in the end. She's probably on her way now. Get her dress ready." Lisa nearly choked on her drink and coughed a few times before saying, "You don't need to wait. Sarah is getting married today. Why would she be here for you?" She even pulled out the invitation I gave her to prove it. When Daniel saw my name next to William's on the invitation, he exploded in anger. He yanked his tie and snapped at Lisa. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? And why did she only give you an invitation? Are you helping her put on a show?" Lisa was speechless. He was the one who told everyone not to mention me, and now he was blaming others for not telling him. Daniel called me repeatedly, switching between different phone numbers. But the wedding ceremony was long and busy. My parents and Eleanor's relatives were all present, and William's friends had flown in from abroad. We had guests to greet and countless things to handle. I didn't even have time to check my phone. Even after the wedding, when we finally returned to our room, I hadn't looked at it once. As soon as I sat on the couch, exhaustion hit me like a wave. "Marriage is so tiring," I muttered. William looked at me and said, "Then hurry up and wash up so you can rest." I nodded. After showering, I was about to dry my hair when he walked over, casually took the dryer from my hand, and started drying it for me. It reminded me of high school. He used to do this too, dry my hair while I sat there studying. "You're such a great guy. How are you still single?" I asked. William's hand paused for a moment. He gently gathered my hair, slowly drying it as if deep in thought. Then, after a long silence, he finally said, "I'm not single anymore, am I?" I almost blurted out, "But this is fake, right?" But for some reason, at that moment, I didn't want to admit that our wedding was fake. And today, the phone suddenly rang and I picked it up without thinking. On the other end, Lisa's voice sounded anxious. "Sarah, Daniel is looking for you. He wants you to answer his call right away." She hesitated for a second before lowering her voice. "Listen, he had a scowl on his face the entire wedding. I think he regrets it, but you know how proud he is. Maybe you should give him a chance." The call was on speaker, and I noticed William's expression darken. I replied to Lisa without hesitation. Give him a chance to be the other man? William and I are not getting a divorce just because of Daniel. There was a brief silence on the other end before Lisa asked, Wait, you actually got married? This isn't just an act despite Daniel marrying, just to anchor Daniel? That was absurd. I was about to deny it outright when suddenly Daniel's voice came through the speaker. There's no way you could love someone else. You followed me around for 8 years like a pathetic fool. And now you expect me to believe you're in love with another man. Stop lying to yourself. His voice made what was supposed to be a beautiful night suddenly feel disgusting. Before I could respond, William's voice interrupted. Babe, it's late. Let's go to bed. It is our wedding night after all. There's still a lot to do. Then, without waiting for a reply, he hung up the call. When our eyes met, I noticed the redness in his, like he was angry and hurt. I wanted to say I didn't expect the call to be from Daniel, but before I could, William asked, So you spent 8 years of your life on that man? I was at a loss for words. William suddenly pulled me into his arms. His heartbeat was steady against my ear as if it held all the answers. I wanted to explain those 8 years, but all he said was, He's nothing but a bad memory. If you don't care, then I won't either. That night, he opened a bottle of wine a friend had gifted him. We talked about everything, years of memories, regrets, and unspoken thoughts. At some point, the bottle emptied. Everything that happened afterward felt natural. So natural that when I woke up the next morning, I almost thought it had been a dream. That is, until I realized I could barely move. William walked out of the kitchen, looking fresh and energized, carrying a tray of breakfast. I made your favorite. There's avocado. I nodded and walked over to the table. The sight of the breakfast took me back to my high school days when I used to beg William to wake up early just to take me for this meal before school. Back then, he would ride his bike, taking me across town just so I could have a bite. But in the years I spent with Daniel, I'd hardly touched avocado because he hated it. Now, as I took a bite, an unfamiliar wave of emotion welled up inside me, an indescribable sense of grievance. Maybe it wasn't the avocado itself. Maybe it was the realization of how much of myself I had given up in those 8 years. Tomorrow night, I have a class reunion. Do you want to come with me? A reunion. William had studied abroad, and I had already met some of his friends at our wedding. They were friendly, and we got along well, so I agreed. But from the moment I said yes, William became so excited that he told all his friends. He even went out of his way to pick an outfit that matched mine. That moment made me pause. In all the years I was with Daniel, I was never invited to his social gatherings. The one time he did bring me along, it was only to use me as a shield to avoid drinking. His friends never liked me. They made sure I knew it. But on the day I married William, his friends, all of whom had flown in from overseas, knew my name the moment they met me. They even knew about my past with William and treated me with genuine warmth. It was then that I realized William must have talked about me to them a lot. In his eyes, I was someone worth mentioning. And that's why the moment they met me, they welcomed me. A wave of emotions washed over me, and I instinctively tugged on William's sleeve as he excitedly picked out our outfits. How about we make this real? He froze for a second. Then, without any hesitation, he agreed. We set a date to register our marriage. The next day, William left early for the reunion while I went shopping with my parents before heading over. On the way, I stopped by a boutique I used to visit with Daniel. The moment I walked in, a staff member recognized me and hurried over. Miss, Daniel was here just a few days ago. He ordered a custom suit for you. Are you here to try it on? For me? You must have misheard. He probably ordered it for someone named Chloe. Daniel and I are not connected anymore. The staff member quickly pulled up the order details and checked again. No, it's definitely for you. It even has your old measurements. I glanced at the receipt, and it was laughable. When we were together, Daniel almost never bought me clothes unless it was for a special occasion. Yet now, he had hired a top designer to make me a wedding dress. For what? We thought you were marrying Mr. Daniel, so we specially selected this gown. I chuckled and held up my hand, showing off my wedding ring. I did get married, but not to Daniel. Then I answered William's call and took a cab to the reunion. As soon as I reached the entrance, I heard a familiar voice. Well, well, our genius actually got married. He only just got back to the country, right? And you only invited them? What about us? Are we not classmates too? It was Daniel's voice. Daniel and William were classmates. I was stunned for a moment before I remembered William and Daniel had gone to the same high school, and they had both studied abroad for university, but I had never once thought they knew each other. William met Daniel's gaze and said, I sent you an invitation, but you were busy getting married that day. Daniel's expression faltered for a moment. Then, as if realizing something, he stared at William with a look of disbelief. Don't tell me your wife's name is Sarah. William nodded. She's here too. Then, without hesitation, he walked over to me, took my hand in front of Daniel's friends, and smiled. I greeted everyone naturally. Daniel, on the other hand, stood frozen, unable to say a word. William then asked, Everyone brought their partners today, Daniel. Why are you here alone? Daniel let out a cold laugh. Then, looking straight at me, he said, Alone? You're holding my girlfriend's hand. And with that, he reached out to take me back. I quickly dodged. After stepping back, I hid behind William. I would never be a home wrecker, and my husband is right here. Where would I even have a boyfriend? I raised my voice, especially when I said husband. It was the first time William had heard me call him that directly, and he immediately broke into a smile. He grabbed my hand and raised it high, standing right in front of Daniel. If I remember correctly, your wife's name is Chloe, right? Well, I made sure she got invited too. Wouldn't want you feeling lonely. At some point, Chloe had already arrived. With red-rimmed eyes, she rushed forward, grabbing Daniel's hand, demanding to know why he had run away on their wedding night and ignored her ever since. But Daniel wasn't looking at her. His eyes were locked on me. The moment he saw me and William about to leave, he completely lost it. He shoved Chloe to the ground. She cried out in pain, and only then did Daniel glance back at her. Then, turning to me, he said, Even if you wanted to get back at me, you didn't have to marry just anyone. Do you even know who he is? He's not a good guy. I've known him for years. I know him better than you do. You need to listen to me. He's only using you as a replacement. He used to be a total player, dated countless women, even when he was overseas. I listened with a smile. Before William could say anything, I cut in, And you think you're any better? How dare you talk about someone else? Besides, I knew him long before you did. I've known him since we were kids. Eleanor used to bring William over to visit all the time. He even stayed at my house frequently. I knew him better than anyone. After all, I'd learned everything about him straight from his mother. I never had a single doubt about him. I trust William completely. No matter what you say, you can't change the fact that we're married. You should focus on your first love instead of trying to have it both ways. With that, I held William's hand and walked out. Daniel wasn't ready to give up. He chased after us. He has a girlfriend. They've been together for years. All our college friends know about it. At that moment, William's hand felt cold in mine. I tightened my grip. Whatever explanation you have, we can talk about it later. Right now, we can't lose our momentum. After I said that, he gave a quiet, in agreement. The reunion ended on a sour note. Chloe caused a huge scene, and Daniel finally stayed quiet for a few days. When William and I got home, we were silent for a long time. He didn't know where to start, and I didn't know how to ask. A few days passed like that. Then, the day before we were supposed to register our marriage, he couldn't hold it in anymore. He took the initiative to tell me everything about his past. We sat across from each other. Honestly, I had already prepared myself for the possibility that I'd always just be someone's substitute. But the first thing he said was, "That person was you." I froze. He told me about the time he had stayed at my house when his parents were getting divorced. That was when his feelings for me started to change, but back then I was preparing for my college entrance exams, and he was about to go abroad for university. He forced himself to be rational, convincing himself that he couldn't selfishly disrupt my life. He thought that after we separated, his feelings for me would fade with time. But overseas, no matter how many people pursued him, he always found himself thinking of me. The letters I wrote, the messages I sent, even the simplest holiday greetings, I had no idea how many times he reread them. He had even made a scrapbook printing out everything I had ever sent him. One by one, he pulled out the pages and showed them to me. Seeing that, I asked him directly, "Then what about your so-called longtime girlfriend?" William's expression darkened. "Wasn't it you who asked me to pretend to be your boyfriend to fend off those guys chasing you?" That time, my roommate happened to overhear, and since I never dated anyone, they assumed I had a girlfriend of many years. Even my mom believed it. Eleanor had always thought we were secretly together. That's why she used her illness as an excuse to push things along. I looked at William. "So the person you've loved all along was me?" He nodded. That night, we talked for hours. I told him everything about the past 8 years, and I let him know that I had completely let go of Daniel. As for William, back then, he was smart, handsome, and amazing at everything. How could I not have had feelings for him? But that kind of youthful infatuation came and went quickly. After he left, my love letter accidentally ended up in Daniel's hands, setting off this 8-year-long misunderstanding. From the very beginning, my relationship with Daniel had been built on a mistake. He thought the unattainable person I wrote about in my letter was him. But back then, I had never even noticed him. That one letter tied everything together, and I had always wondered why I kept giving in to Daniel, why, no matter how many times I doubted his feelings for me, I still stayed. And then I finally realized I was never the one being used as a substitute. Daniel was. He just assumed I couldn't live without him. But in reality, I had only been drawn to him because, in certain way, he reminded me of William. I had never truly understood my own feelings until now. All those misunderstandings had only led to pain. But at least now, everything was clear. On the third day, when we went to register our marriage, we were much more relaxed. I held onto his arm the whole time, leaning against him closely. We had been too excited, waking up too early, so we decided to grab breakfast before heading over. Just as we sat down and placed our order, I saw Daniel approaching. He was holding a neatly packaged suit from that very store, along with a bouquet of roses, walking step by step toward me. "Sarah, give us another chance." As he spoke, he dropped to one knee, pulling out a ring box. William was still outside on the phone, seemingly unaware of what was happening. Meanwhile, Daniel was already grabbing my hand, trying to slip the ring on. When he saw my wedding band, his expression darkened, and he reached out in frustration, trying to yank it off. "Let go, that hurts," I shouted. Daniel, his emotions spiraling, said, "If it hurts, then why are you torturing me like this? Do you have any idea what I've been going through these past days?" He pointed at himself. "I can't sleep. Every inch of my place reminds me of you. You're being way too cruel. If you wanted to punish me, fine. But why fake a marriage?" "Fake marriage?" I stared at him. "William and I are really married." Daniel let out a cold laugh and interrupted me. "Save it. I already looked into it. You two never registered anything. You deliberately scheduled this to match my wedding date. You wanted me to come find you." He started rattling off his own assumptions, convinced that he had figured everything out. He thought William and I had known each other for a long time, and William was willing to play along with me. That wedding was just a formality, just to make him regret it. Daniel yanked me over. "Your little tricks are pathetic. I saw right through them. I promised you, if you come back to me, I'll divorce Chloe. Then I'll give you a grand wedding. Whatever you want, it's yours." I looked at him, feeling too drained to even say another word. When I turned around, I saw William standing right behind Daniel. "Let go of my wife." That one sentence made Daniel turn around and look at him. Without another word, he threw a punch. William caught his fist in an instant. Daniel, refusing to back down, sneered, "It's just a fake marriage. Why are you taking this so seriously?" "Don't tell me you actually want to have it both ways." "Listen, I already got your girlfriend's number. If you keep being stubborn, I'll show you exactly what I mean." "Girlfriend's number?" William looked at Daniel, completely puzzled. Daniel smirked. "See, that's how men are. Look how nervous he is. Just a single phone call is enough to make him panic." Seeing that I remained indifferent, Daniel said directly, "If you don't believe me, I'll call right now." Confidently, he raised his phone and quickly dialed the number. A crowd had already gathered, waiting eagerly to see how this would play out, including me. The phone rang for a few seconds, and suddenly a ringtone echoed from nearby. Everyone slowly turned to look at me. I opened my bag, took out my phone, and saw a missed call on my work number. At that moment, I understood everything. The so-called girlfriend's number was just my work phone. William and I had always used this number to contact each other. The company covered the phone bill, which was much cheaper for international calls. So they mistakenly assumed that number belonged to his girlfriend. After embarrassing himself, Daniel calmed down for a moment and asked seriously, "If you two are really together, why haven't you registered your marriage?" I took William's hand and looked Daniel in the eye. "That's exactly what we're doing today. If you don't believe it, you're welcome to come witness our happiness." Without another word, Daniel actually got into his car, ready to follow us. I never knew he was this persistent. William and I exchanged a glance. Since he was going to follow us anyway, why not? I walked up, knocked on Daniel's car door, and got in the back seat. William got in too. We gave Daniel an address and told him to drive. For a moment, he was stunned. Then, filled with anger, he started the car. The whole way there, William and I discussed where to go for our honeymoon. It had been so long since I'd traveled, and there were so many places I wanted to visit. I kept scrolling through options. William asked me where I wanted to go the most. Before I could answer, Daniel scoffed. "You don't even know her dream honeymoon destination, and you want to marry her?" Proudly, he said, "It's B City." William clearly froze for a second. Daniel smirked. "See? He doesn't know anything about you." I lowered my head, feeling a little embarrassed. Back in high school, I used to write my own little romance stories. I once wrote a cringeworthy one using William's name and personality as inspiration. The teacher confiscated it and handed it to my mom. And of course, my mom showed it to Eleanor and William. In that story, the main characters spent their honeymoon in B City. That's why, deep down, I always wanted to go there. William didn't say anything. Neither did I. Then I couldn't hold back. I laughed. In the end, Daniel watched as we officially registered our marriage. Only then did he finally realize he had lost me for real. I wasn't playing games. I wasn't putting on an act. "Sarah!" His voice cracked as he grabbed my shoulders. "Tell me this is all fake. It's all fake, right? Come back to me. I won't bet on us this time. Let's get married for real, okay? We've been together for so long, how can you just let me go? Didn't we promise we were supposed to be together forever?" I pushed his hands away. I never forgot that promise. I truly meant it at the time. That's why I spent 2 years preparing for our wedding, waiting for our love to blossom. But what I got in return was a bet. A heartless bet where I was nothing more than a wager. I had spent countless nights asking myself why. Why didn't I see through his indifference sooner? And then I understood. Because I was too invested. I ignored all the signs. Now how could I ever go back and relive that pain? It's over, Daniel. You have Chloe now, and I'm married. Stop this. It's pointless. I know you're still upset that I married Chloe. Just wait. I'll fix this. I swear I will. No matter what I said, he refused to listen. Like a man possessed, he jumped into his car and sped away. I had no energy left to care about what he was planning. It didn't matter. I wasn't going to repeat my mistakes. William and I gave a simple explanation to our parents about our plans, then started preparing for our honeymoon. On our way to B City, I got a call from Daniel. He didn't say a word. I could only hear his breathing, but I was about to board my flight. I had no time, no patience to entertain him. I hung up. When I landed, I turned off my phone. All my focus was on William and our honeymoon. I had always dreamed of coming here with Daniel. I told him so many times. But he never made it happen, not even once. And now my first time here was with William. In my story, William deeply loved Sarah, just like us now. As we sat in the pool watching the sunset over the horizon, he held me close. "We should always be like this," he murmured. I couldn't promise him anything so easily. But then he slowly took out a honeymoon gift he had prepared for a long time and put it around my neck. My throat tightened. This is, he smiled. In your novel, At Sunset, William gave Sarah a carefully chosen necklace, a symbol of their love, eternal like the sun and moon. I laughed. That was the kind of thing only a teenage girl could write. But hearing it from him, I knew he truly cherished everything about me. This honeymoon felt like a dream come true. Every moment was proof my fantasies were becoming reality. When I finally left, I was even a little reluctant. When I got off the plane and walked out of the airport, I saw a figure in the distance. It was Daniel. He stood far away and rushed over when he saw me coming out. I'm divorced, he said loudly. Are you still willing to choose me? I looked at him and said, no. Whether you get married or divorced has nothing to do with me. When I got in the car, he was still stunned. And when the car left, he chased for a long time. But I knew he would never catch up with this car. William was with me, and we soon had a child. Everything became exceptionally good. And Daniel, I heard that he was beaten by Chloe's family and became disabled. With the help of his parents, he went to settle abroad. He came to see me once before he left. But that time, I happened to be celebrating William's birthday, and the picture of us hugging each other hurt him. We had no contact after that. There will be no participation of Daniel in my life, and